Today we are looking at the MLB slate for tonight. We have a 7-game main slate on Draftkings, also 7 games on Fanduel. So let's get started. A nice medium-sized slate, not looking at 12 or 13 games today. So looking forward to it. Also just had that one NBA game, the playing game today. So not gonna have a video out for that, but I think the Blazers will win today. Let's get started. As always, appreciate if you hit the like on the video and subscribe if you have not already. See if we can get 100 plus likes on the video. That would be appreciated. And we'll start by looking at the totals for the 7-game slate. So we have Paxton facing off against Evaldi. The Yankees lineup has taken a big hit, losing Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge the last couple of days. So their lineup still has some power in there, but it's not going to be as strong, obviously, as before. I like Paxton at 8,100 facing off against this Red Sox offense that has struggled this year. There's still some strikeouts in this lineup. They not having Benintendi in there is actually probably going to hurt Paxton because Benintendi's been awful this year. But we'll look at it. We'll still look at the strikeout rates and for that matchup. Then you have Kevin Gausman, who is only 6,200. He's faced some tough competition so far, and he's pitched well. So I think he could be an SP2. Then we have the Astros stack went off yesterday, and then they're going to probably go off again today, facing off against a terrible lefty once again. Then you have the National stack. I think they look fine, but they're not. I mean, the Astros are my favorite stack today. Then you have Coors, faded Coors yesterday. Did not go off. So today we also have some decent pitchers in Coors. I don't know if I'll be all over it. Today I would go with the Rocky stack instead of the Ranger stack. I mean, I like Marquez as a pitcher. He's pitched well in Coors. Well, last year he struggled in Coors, but he has pitched well in Coors throughout parts of his career. And this Rangers offense is just not very good. And then I like the Diamondbacks today. I think they'll be like a sneaky stack facing off against Cal Quantrill. Quantrill, don't know how stretched out he is. He could only go a couple innings. And the Padres have had a pretty bad bullpen. They have had a bottom 10 bullpen this year in terms of ERA. And this Diamondbacks offense has a bunch of pop. You have Calhoun leading off, Marte with power. Other Marte has a lot of power. Peralta hits righties really well. Christian Walker has power. Kelly, Escobar, Lamb's been awful this year, but he still has some pop. So 1 through 9, you actually have some home run hitters in there. And facing off against Cal Quantrill, I think they'll go super low on. So the Diamondbacks, I think, look pretty appealing today. And then not really on the Dodgers, except for Pollock, who's only 3,300 again. Go look at Pollock, maybe Cody Bellinger. 2 home runs yesterday, maybe started to turn the season around. But that's it. Only 7 games, so not a bunch of offense to touch on. But the ones that I'm really looking at are the Astros for sure. The Astros, I like the Diamondbacks sneaky stack, and I like the some of the Colorado Rockies look pretty appealing. And then I guess you could throw in some Nationals in there. So starting off here at pitcher, you have Patrick Corbin at 10-5. He's facing off against an Orioles offense that has been surprising this year. They put up some runs, especially against the Phillies, but the Phillies have the worst bullpen in baseball. But also their lineup doesn't have as many strikeouts as last year, not having Chris Davis in the lineup on a regular basis. So they have both Iglesias and Hanser Alberto in there, both strike out at about 10-11%. Then you have BUEHLER. Looks good, but the Angels also don't strike out too much, and we know the Dodgers don't like to don't let their starters throw 100 pitches on a regular basis. And Marquez is more expensive than Paxton. I don't agree with that. I would go with Paxton. At 8,100, you're taking a little bit of risk because he can get blown up. But maybe the last game against the Rays, he kind of figured some stuff out. The first 2 starts of the year, he was awful. And he had 11 strikeouts in 6 1/3. Gave up 2 home runs. Both of those home runs came, I believe, when he came out in the 7th inning. So it was kind of gassed, but still, that was also the most pitches he's thrown. So maybe he can get to 90 pitches, maybe more. 8,100, the Dodgers. Looking at their lineup here in Plate IQ, you can see that there's not a ton of strikeouts in there, but there's still enough. And Paxton has a 30% strikeout rate, so he's going to be able to strike out more guys than that. And so you have 33% for Chavis if he's in there. Bradley strikes out about 30% almost. Then if he can kind of get through Devers, lefty, not the best matchup, or Dugo, a lefty as well. So, I mean, there's not a ton of red in here, but there's enough, and I do like Paxton's upside enough that I feel like he can pitch a pretty good game. Also throws like mainly a fastball, cutter. You can look at how these hitters do against that pitch, but Paxton, I'll take the larger sample size, and he's always been an ace, except for the first couple starts this year, but in his career, he's always been a good pitcher. 8,100 against a struggling Red Sox team. Red Sox offense, I think, is a plus. And then second pitcher, you have quite a bit of SP2 options. You could go with CRISTIAN JAVIER at 7,400. He only threw 63 pitches, 3 innings against the A's. He kind of got hit around, 3 home runs given up. Before that, he was pretty solid against the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. He looks like an SP2 option. Then you have Kevin Gausman down at 6,200. That price tag is really nice on Gausman. He's facing off against an A's team that has a good amount of power, but I like the A's a lot better than against lefties and righties. They've also lost Laureano for a couple games, so with his suspension, so their lineup has been a bit weaker. And Gausman has pitched really well, and he's got some tough competition. Faced the Padres, put up 16, played in Coors, put up 16, and then played in Dodger Stadium and put up over 22. The pitch count is going to probably be like 80, 85, maybe 90. We know that Gabe Kapler's another guy that doesn't like to let his starters throw too many pitches, but 62 for Gausman against a team that does strike out a good amount. Feel like he could be a good SP2 option. And then starting off with some of the hitters that I'm looking at second base, you have decent options. I mean, Hampson is 5,100. If you're really loving the Rocky stack, you could play him. Altuve is good against lefties, but he's been so bad this year, and his price tag is still super expensive. I'll go with a guy like Ketel Marte at 4,600. It's a good price point for him. He has been having another great season. He has multiple hits in 2 out of 4 games. He hits for power, hits for average, gets on base, has some speed. Hasn't stolen a base yet, but he can in some spots. And just love the matchup against Quantrill. And I like the spot that he's probably going to get a couple innings at least, a couple of bats at least against that bullpen of the Padres, who have been very bad. If you look at the plate IQ and look at some of the splits and stuff like that, you could see Quantrill really relies on a sinker. And Marte has been pretty good against that pitch. I mean, a lot of these hitters have been good. Calhoun 330 ISO, Marte 217, Peralta 229, Walker 273, and that's his most thrown pitch. And then he throws a slider a bit. Marte over 200 ISO on the slider. The fastball, we know Marte can hit the fastball 197 ISO. So I like the Diamondbacks a good amount today. They're pretty expensive on DraftKings. Well, some of the hitters are in the outfield, but on FanDuel they're super cheap. So go with Ketel Marte at second base. At shortstop, probably go all the way up for Trevor Story against Gibson. Gonna have some savings. Gonna have some savings by not going all the way up to a Corbin today or a Walker Buehler. So I feel like I'll make the most of it by playing a guy in Coors, in Trevor Story, who has mashed in Coors for his entire career. This year, 341 average, 4 out of his 6 home runs have come in Coors, 4 home runs in 11 games. Gibson gives up the long ball at times, and he also doesn't throw a fastball too much, so he likes to throw a sinker. Trevor Story can hit his pitches pretty well, so like Trevor Story at 6,200. And then in the outfield, go with Yordan Alvarez, who's finally back in the lineup, and that makes the Astros lineup pretty scary with him hitting him. I think he got his 7th yesterday, and that was probably because it was a lefty-lefty matchup. But he's still first inning got a 3-run home run. He's only 4,300, which makes no sense. And this is a guy that people might be scared off because it's a lefty-lefty matchup, but he hits lefties just as well as he hits righties. Last year, he batted .307 against lefties with 9 home runs in 114 at-bats. Look at the ISO numbers. They were identical, lefties and righties, 342 ISO. The strikeouts were actually lower against lefties. He just mashes the ball, 50% hard hit rate against lefties, and just so much pop. He was also super impressive at home last year in Houston. He batted .349 with 14 out of his 27 home runs. So I love Alvarez at that price point. And then last but not least, I will go with third base. Skipped this position, but I'm going with Alex Bregman, 5,500. He's starting to be a little bit better at double-digit fantasy points. 3 straight games. He has a hit in like 5 straight, I believe, or 4 straight. games with a hit. It's a lefty on the mound, and it's a very bad lefty. I mean, this Astros team should absolutely crush today once again. If you just look at the pitches that Nick throws, they are pretty poor, and he doesn't throw with much speed at all. So if you look at it, he has a 5.41 xFIP, only a 17% strikeout rate, which is super low. And this Astros team in general doesn't strike out too much, so there's going to be a ton of contact. 333 ISO, given up to lefties, 190 against righties. He throws a 88 mile per hour fastball, which he throws 50+% of the time. And these Astros hitters will absolutely just crush it. 300 ISO for Springer, 368 for Altuve, 469 for Bregman, 864 in a small sample size, but still 864. 80% hard hit rate for Yordan Alvarez against the fastball. And then he likes to throw a slider, and that slider is only 80 miles per hour. And you have Springer 370 ISO, Bregman 605, Alvarez 485. I mean, this Astros team, stack them up today. They're going to go off. So that is it for the video for DraftKings side. I'll go ahead and touch on FanDuel now. All right, over on FanDuel, pitcher, you have Corbin at 10-6, then BUEHLER, then Frankie Montas, maybe if he's in there. I think he got scratched yesterday. He's only 8,800. Could be a nice play. Then you have Marquez at 84. You have Paxton at 81. See, Montas, if he's going to be... Maybe he's in there. I mean, we'll see. And then I think you have Paxton down at 81. Javier at 78. Then you have GAUSMAN at 73. So if you want to go cheap at pitcher, I mean, Paxton gives you that strikeout upside at a very nice price point, at a spot where he's pitching in Yankee Stadium is a good hitter's park, but I mean, I'm not sold on this Red Sox offense. They're not great. The only guy that he should be scared of is JD Martinez, just because he mashes lefties. And then on FanDuel, you have the Diamondbacks at incredible price points, so I like them a lot. You have Marte at 35, other Marte at 34. You have Peralta at $29 or 2,900. Calhoun at 28 leading off. And then you have Escobar is pretty inexpensive as well, so at 2,800. So I like the Diamondbacks. And then I'm for sure going to like the Astros once again. You have Bregman and Springer and Altuve. Alvarez is 3,500. Then you have Correa, 3,300. So they look great. And then I like the Rockies a bit. Starting off here at second base, I will go back to Ketel Marte. I think he's 3,400. He is 3,400 at second base. Not super expensive. I like the spot for him. Don't think he'll get a lot of ownership, which will be nice. And the second base is in a particularly deep position, minus LeMahieu. And then if you want to pay 36 for Altuve, you can, but it's not super deep. There's not a ton of guys with power, so Marte gives you that upside. Third base, Alex Bregman. I mean, I love the Astros today. Astros, Diamondbacks, Rockies, three teams I'm really high on. In the outfield, going to go back to Yordan Alvarez because he's 3,500. He should be at least $4,000. It's a lefty-lefty, but as I just showed you the numbers, it doesn't scare me at all. He mashed lefties last year. He started off the year hot with a home run in his first at-bat. It's a terrible Mariners pitcher, and it's a terrible Mariners bullpen coming back. So Alvarez looks great at 3,500. And then David Peralta is only $2,900. I think he looks great, especially if he's batting like right in the heart of the lineup cleanup. He's really started to hit well as of late with back-to-back 2-hit games at a 4-hit game before that. And he started to hit for power with doubles and home run. Only one home run on the year, but he's always been great against right-handed pitching. So, like Peralta a lot. And that should round out the video. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit the like before you head out. And good luck today.